Anna Karenina is one of Leo Tolstoy's greatest novels, often regarded as a pinnacle of realist fiction. The novel intricately explores the lives of its characters, weaving together themes of love, family, morality, and the rigid social structures of Russian society in the 19th century. Set primarily in aristocratic circles, Anna Karenina juxtaposes the passionate and ultimately tragic story of its titular character, Anna, with the more grounded and spiritually fulfilling life of Konstantin Levin. Through these parallel narratives, Tolstoy delves into the nature of human happiness, the consequences of personal choices, and the conflict between individual desires and societal expectations. The novel opens with one of literature's most famous lines, "All happy families are alike. Each unhappy family is unhappy in its own way." This introduction immediately sets the tone for a novel that examines the complexities and imperfections of human relationships. The story begins with the marital crisis of the Oblonsky family as Stepan Arkadyevich Oblonsky, Stiva, has been unfaithful to his wife Darya, Dolly. This marital discord sets the stage for the novel's exploration of infidelity, loyalty, and forgiveness. Anna Karenina, the wife of a high-ranking government official, Alexei Alexandrovich Karenin, enters the scene when she comes to Moscow to help mend the relationship between Stiva, her brother, and Dolly. It is during this visit that Anna meets Count Alexei Vronsky, a handsome and wealthy officer. Their instant and intense attraction to each other sparks a scandalous love affair that becomes the novel's central focus. Anna, who has been living a relatively restrained and dutiful life with her emotionally distant husband, is swept away by her passion for Vronsky. However, her decision to pursue this forbidden love sets her on a path of social ruin and personal tragedy. At the same time, the novel introduces Konstantin Dmitrievich Levin, a wealthy landowner and a character often seen as a semi-autobiographical representation of Tolstoy himself. Levin is deeply in love with Princess Kitty Sherbatskaya, who initially rejects him in favor of Vronsky. Levin, heartbroken, retreats to his country estate, where he focuses on agriculture and attempts to find meaning in a simple rural life. However, Kitty eventually realizes that Vronsky does not love her, and after a period of personal growth, she and Levin reconcile and marry. As Anna and Vronsky's affair deepens, they become increasingly isolated from Russian high society. Anna's decision to leave her husband and son, Seryozha, in order to live openly with Vronsky leads to her ostracism from polite society, while Vronsky's career suffers because of the scandal. Anna becomes consumed by jealousy, insecurity, and guilt, unable to reconcile her passionate love for Vronsky with the societal condemnation she faces. Her descent into despair is marked by increasing paranoia, a deepening sense of isolation, and a growing disillusionment with Vronsky, who, while still devoted to her, begins to chafe under the constraints of their relationship. Levin's life, in contrast, is filled with challenges, but also with a sense of purpose and fulfillment. His marriage to Kitty, while not without its difficulties, is built on mutual respect and love. Levin is deeply concerned with questions of faith, morality, and the meaning of life. His existential struggles lead him to question the materialism and superficiality of the aristocratic world, and he finds solace in his connection to the land and the peasants who work it. Levin's spiritual journey culminates in a profound religious awakening, where he finds peace in accepting his faith and the inherent mystery of life. The novel's tragic climax occurs when Anna, driven to despair by her crumbling relationship with Vronsky and her inability to find a place in society, takes her own life by throwing herself under a train. Her death is the ultimate consequence of her defiance of societal norms and her inability to reconcile her desires with the rigid structures of Russian society. Meanwhile, the novel ends on a more hopeful note with Levin, who has found personal peace and fulfillment through his faith and family life, suggesting that spiritual and moral grounding can lead to a more harmonious existence. Themes and ideas in the novel: love and passion versus duty and social expectations. One of the central themes of Anna Karenina is the tension between individual desires, particularly love and passion, and the constraints imposed by social expectations. Anna's love for Vronsky is passionate, intense, and all-consuming, but it is also destructive. By choosing to pursue her affair, Anna breaks the social contract that governs her role as a wife and mother, and as a result, she is ostracized and condemned by society. Her struggle to reconcile her personal happiness with her societal obligations ultimately leads to her downfall. Tolstoy contrasts Anna's doomed romance with the more stable and conventional relationship between Levin and Kitty. While their marriage has its own challenges, it is based on mutual respect, shared values, and a deep emotional connection. Levin and Kitty's relationship represents the ideal of love, tempered by duty and grounded in a commitment to family and moral principles. Through this contrast, Tolstoy suggests that passionate love, while intoxicating, can be dangerous if it exists outside the bounds of social and moral responsibility. The role of society. Society plays a critical role in shaping the lives of the characters in Anna Karenina. Tolstoy presents Russian high society as a rigid, hypocritical, and judgmental institution that places immense pressure on individuals to conform to its norms. Anna's affair with Vronsky is viewed as scandalous, not necessarily because of the affair itself, since infidelity is commonplace in the novel's aristocratic circles, but because Anna chooses to live openly with Vronsky, defying the societal expectation that such affairs should remain discreet. Her defiance of these norms leads to her social exclusion and eventual psychological breakdown. At the same time, Tolstoy critiques the superficiality of the aristocratic world. The parties, balls, and social gatherings that dominate the lives of characters like Stiva, Karenin, and even Vronsky are portrayed as empty and trivial, disconnected from the real emotional and spiritual struggles that define human existence. Levin's retreat to the countryside represents a rejection of this artificial world in favor of a more authentic and meaningful life connected to nature, work, and family. Faith and spirituality. Tolstoy's exploration of faith and spirituality is most evident in the character of Levin, who embarks on a deeply personal quest for meaning throughout the novel. Levin's existential struggles mirror Tolstoy's own philosophical inquiries about the purpose of life, morality, and faith. He grapples with questions of death, the afterlife, and the existence of God, and his journey ultimately leads him to a profound religious awakening. Levin's faith is not the rigid, dogmatic faith of the Church, but rather a deeply personal and evolving belief in the spiritual significance of life. His realization that the meaning of life lies not in intellectual understanding but in faith and love is a turning point in the novel. Levin's journey toward spiritual peace contrasts with Anna's increasing alienation and despair, highlighting the novel's theme that personal fulfillment and happiness are closely tied to moral and spiritual integrity. The role of women. Anna Karenina also explores the roles and limitations imposed on women in 19th century Russian society. Anna, as a woman, faces much harsher judgment for her affair than Vronsky, underscoring the double standards of the time. Her struggle for autonomy and personal happiness is thwarted by a society that views women primarily as wives and mothers, with little room for individuality or desire outside these roles. Kitty's journey, on the other hand, reflects the more traditional path expected of women in Russian society. Initially, she experiences the pain of rejection and disillusionment when Vronsky chooses Anna over her, but she eventually finds happiness through her marriage to Levin. Kitty's role as a supportive wife and mother, while less glamorous than Anna's passionate affair, is presented as more fulfilling and stable in the long term. Through these characters, Tolstoy critiques the rigid gender roles and societal expectations that limit women's choices and agency. Anna's tragic fate can be seen as a consequence of her attempt to break free from these constraints, while Kitty's happiness is achieved by accepting and fulfilling her traditional role. Moral choices and consequences. Tolstoy emphasizes the idea that moral choices have profound consequences for individuals and society. Anna's decision to leave her husband and son and live openly with Vronsky is a radical act that defies the moral and social order. While her love for Vronsky is genuine, it is also selfish and ultimately destructive, leading to her isolation, psychological torment, and death. Tolstoy does not simply condemn Anna for her choices. He presents her as a deeply human character, torn between her desires and the consequences of her actions. Levin's moral choices, on the other hand, reflect his search for a life of integrity and purpose. His struggles with faith, love, and work are portrayed as part of a larger quest for moral clarity. In the end, Levin finds peace through his acceptance of his responsibilities as a husband, father, and landowner, and through his recognition that faith and love are the foundations of a meaningful life. Conclusion: Anna Karenina is a complex and profound exploration of human emotions, social conventions, and moral dilemmas. Through the parallel stories of Anna and Levin, Tolstoy examines the consequences of love, passion, and individual choices, while also delving into the broader philosophical questions of faith, morality, and the nature of happiness. Anna's tragic downfall highlights the destructive potential of unchecked desire and the rigid constraints imposed by society, while Levin's journey toward spiritual fulfillment suggests that true peace and happiness come from a life grounded in love, faith, and personal responsibility. Tolstoy masterfully contrasts these two narratives, offering a rich commentary on the human condition and the struggles of individuals to find meaning and satisfaction in a world governed by complex social and moral rules. Created for Squeeze That Book channel, please subscribe to follow new videos, and leave a comment with your thoughts about the book.